Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Climb Your Everest Leadership Skills series. So we've been doing many of these workshops, and most of you already watched all these videos available on Climb Your Everest YouTube channel. But today we have a very special guest and very special topic. This is the topic we haven't done before. So I think this is a very important topic. A lot of you asked me both in Nepal and here about resume skills, how to have better resume, how to make better resume, and interview skills. If I wanna do a job interview, how can I be better in terms of communication, in terms of what sort of questions do I have to expect and all that. So I invited an expert to help us learn more about resume skills and interview skills. So I want you to ask as many questions as you can. Don't be shy, be bold, put yourself in the position of if you're doing for an interview, what do I need to learn? What do I need to know to be better? Okay? So keep thinking about it. And if you couldn't think of a question, you can write your questions in the chat box. You can send an email to me and I read it to Sigi, or even if you put it in the chat box, I will read it to Sigi. But don't be shy. I want everyone to ask a question today from Sigi. I want to introduce my friend Sigi. She was there in Nepal, so most of you already met her in Kathmandu or Bhaktapur. So you definitely recognize her. She was so kind to come to Nepal and be in the workshop and meet all of you. This time she's doing a workshop for us. And but very soon we are hoping that she's gonna be coming with us to Nepal in person and do more workshops. So Sigi, thank you so much for being here. Really appreciate
Thank you.
you,
Thank you,
and we
Sarah.
can't wait to learn from you.
Yeah, thank you so much. Hi everyone. I met some of you guys in person in October. How are you all doing? Good? Thumbs up?
Good.
Oh, good, great. Um, so before we dive into the topic, I just want to understand how many of you actually have a resume. You can maybe raise your hand, or uh, do we all have a resume?
Do we have anyone with a resume here? Raise your hand. Okay, Unisha has one. Who else? Raise your hand. I have a resume. Prakriti, do you have one? Yes, Prakriti has one. Sheila, do you have a resume? No? Okay. Like it seems
Okay.
like we need to start from the beginning.
That's fine. So before we dive in, this is Siggy. For those of you who haven't met me before, this is Siggy. I head a software development practice for one of the startups in India. So I do this for my bread and butter. I interview a lot of people for the company as well. And I will walk you through what I look for personally in resumes, and how I interview people and what I look for in the interview process from the candidate. And please feel free to stop me and ask any questions you may have. Um, so let's get started. I'll share my screen here. Can you all see my screen? Or is it?
Yes, we can all see your screen. It's pretty good. Can everybody else see it? I can see it very well.
Is this thing distracting you, or
No.
are you seeing only the screen?
Yes, we're only
Okay, all
seeing the
right.
screen.
All right. Okay. So today we're going to cover a bunch of things. One is how to put together a resume that stands out in a large pool of applications that, the companies get. And how do you navigate through the interview process itself? and how to handle some of the difficult questions they may ask, and your body language, your choice of words through the interview, and everything that matters in that interview process. And also, as at the end of the interview or after the interview, some of the things that you should be doing just to keep in touch with, the company or the recruiters, to make sure, you increase your chances of maybe another round of interviews at some point down the road, in case you don't crack the interview. Okay. So in today's resume building exercise, we're going to go through a particular scenario where there is a company looking for a project manager with experience in handling data governance projects. This might the scenario might sound too tricky or difficult for some of you who may not be coming from the same background. This is very specific to IT background. But we'll also go through some scenarios, that are more generic, and I would love to hear your inputs. This is going to be an interactive session. Um, so with that, what do you think is, or what are the top 3 or 5 things that you think are very important in a resume? Can one of you, go ahead and tell me what are the top 3 or 5 things that comes to your head that are important in building a resume? There are no right or wrong answers. So let's just, please go ahead, share anything that comes to your mind. Anybody? Can you take a guess?
Nisha, you have a resume. Do you want to share what's important? Have you ever tried? Anybody else, or Prakriti, you said you have a resume. What's important in a resume?
Uh, when
I'll
I
go
was
with yeah,
preparing
please go
my
ahead.
resume,
Mhm.
I mentioned about my not only my name and my location, but also my LinkedIn profile. I
Mhm.
think now I think it is most.
Yeah.
And second one is my skills.
Mhm.
I according to the job, I changed my skill which I have. If
Absolutely.
the
Perfect.
skill needs about Microsoft Excel, I mention about Microsoft. And if
Mhm.
yeah, the requirement is for the Google Sheets and Google Docs, I mention Google Docs.
Mhm.
And third one is, of course, educational background.
Mhm.
And fourth one is I have mentioned about any honors or the rewards I have on so far. And the
Mhm.
final, I think, is the reference. Like we mentioned all the things, but I think we need to provide our employer or the interviewer about where they can confirm all those my resume things. So I think reference is also must.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you, Yanisha. I think you nailed it. Those are actually very important things to include in a resume. Um, I think you can actually take over the presentation and walk people through it, because you pretty much summed up most of the things that I'm going to cover today. The first and the most important thing in a resume is, before you put a resume together, you should first understand the job description, because you need to understand what is it that they're exactly looking for in that particular role, so that you can tailor the resume based on that job description. This could mean, you will add your relevant experience. Let's assume in this particular scenario where they're looking for data governance or a software development role with programming skills, let's say C++, right? You might want to put your resume together, specifically highlighting, software development and, building softwares using C++, right? So you need to tailor your resume according to the job description, your experience, your skill sets, everything needs to be modified. The second thing is make sure your resume looks consistent. No grammatical errors. Make sure the formatting looks consistent, which means, let's say you start with bullet points and suddenly you can't, skip bullet points and just start writing paragraphs. It should, when I look at a resume, it should all look consistent. We'll go over some of the examples in the next slide. And a lot of interviewers, they look for more quantifiable experience. So in other words, your experience should reflect numbers or percentages, in the sense that, let's say you build a software for an operations management unit, right? You can say things like, hey, the software I helped build improved the performance by, let's say, 30%, right? These numbers actually make your resume stand out, because that means you have put some thought into building that resume. And most of the times what happens is, when I get a resume, I look at it and then I can tell if that person truly worked on something, or were they just faking it, or do they have any relevant experience or not. And putting some of these numbers give a realistic picture of your experience to the interviewer. Um, like Unisha just explained, some of the things you put in your resume is, for sure, your name, your contact information, phone number, email, and then a little bit about yourself, your professional summary, which should include the role that you played, which in this case here, if you see, the project manager, the domain in which you worked, or the industry, if not domain, because sometimes you may have worked on, a diverse set of projects or domains or industries. So it's okay if you want to stick to an industry alone, or you can even drill it down and make it more domain specific if you're applying to a domain specific role. And you highlight your years of experience. In this case, we're talking about with over 7 years of project management experience. These are some of the things that people look for when they screen your resumes. The second section is your skills. Skills are basically your strengths here, and these are the things that will help interviewers filter your resumes out of a pool that they receive. Let's say it's a project management role, but you don't have the project management skills, and you still apply. Your resume will get picked. It will not get picked from that pool. The next and the most important thing I would say is your experience. Here you see only one experience from Jan 2024. You could have more years of experience across different companies. But make sure you use action-oriented words. What it means is, don't write paragraphs. Don't say, I managed a team of 7 people, right? That's a very generic term. Try to say manage. You don't have to say I manage. This is a resume about you. You can just say manage a team of 5 people or 7 people, whatever. So if you look at this, you'll see action verbs at the beginning of each sentence. And overall, if you go back to what I just covered in the previous slide and this slide, you'll see that this whole resume is pretty consistent. There are bullet points, there are no grammatical errors. It covers your skills, your professional summary, your experience, and like Unisha said, if you have any certifications and achievements, you can also put them on your resume. I'll stop with that and see if you all have any questions before we cover the next part. Any questions? No questions. Okay, so this basically covers how these days, how companies are shortlisting candidates. They use what is called an applicant tracking system, where all the job applications are integrated into whatever ATS that they're using. There are different kinds of ATS systems. So as people are applying for a particular role or for a job, all those applications come into the company's internal ATS system. And that system actually helps shortlist people based on the keywords, very specific keywords that they have listed in the job description, and they match them to those keywords within your resume. That's why it's very important that you read a job description, you understand what are the main keywords they're looking for, which is in this case, in this scenario, it's project management, right? So you start adding project management related keywords in your resume, like managed, implemented, and ran a team or led a team, right? All these keywords are important. If they said domain specific project like data governance, then you start putting some keywords for the data governance, and that's how the ATS will pick up the resumes that are more relevant for the job description. It's important. I know this happens behind the scenes, but I do think you have to know how your resume gets picked out so that you can pay more attention to some of these things when you put it together. Um, Again, this is just a continuation of the previous slides. Make sure you understand the job description, the role, the experience they're looking for, the skills they're looking for, and tailor your resume according to that. And if they're looking for any industry specific experience, you start adding industry specific keywords. For instance, I will take supply chain management as an example. Um, Most of the times we talk about forward logistics, reverse logistics. These are just some keywords you throw into your resume that helps the interviewer understand that you have real world experience, and you're not just faking your experience. Okay, before we jump into the interview process, let's see if you all have any questions. If not, then I have some questions for you. No questions? Oh, wow.
You're
That
so
means
quiet.
I did a fantastic job and everybody's
I
ready to
know.
put together
You're
a
doing a great
resume.
job, but I also want to know if anybody, do we have anybody here who's applying for a job who wants to tell us about their job?
Maybe even show a resume you have, and we can maybe at the end of the session we can go over one or two
Yeah.
resumes you guys may have, and I'll help you tweak it.
Okay, that would be great. If you guys are working on any resume, even if it is just the beginning, you can
Yeah.
ask questions about it, or you can say what job you are applying for, so Ziggy can explain to you what is the next step for you. Don't be shy.
Yeah,
It is okay
yeah.
not to know much about the resume. It's okay. I think maybe like I want to hear from you. Tell me in Nepal, is it like does everybody have a resume or they you just go kind of get a job? How do you find jobs? Kind of we can maybe even talk about if you have any questions about that, we can also talk about that. Okay. Anyone? You are very quiet this morning.
Okay. So if nobody has a question, then I will ask a
Evening.
question. Yeah, go ahead, Mimala.
Yeah, I think I can share some experience about my when I got my job.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, please
Uh,
go ahead.
yeah, maybe it's my personal experience. But one standard like resume we had managed, and according to that academically we are taught here, and including the same points, I just manage my resume. And um, when we get the job, in some places, it is like internally something happens here, and resume. I think. More than that information we give in through the resume, people have some personal contact, or they have some extra their the applicants, the people like who are giving us the job, they search for extra impression about the applicants. Many places I applied when I was searching for job, and I found, or I got that type of experience. So
Okay.
is that clear what I'm trying to uh, clear it, or I'm trying to
So
tell?
are you
Yeah,
saying that the
yeah,
interviewers
more
expect some extracurricular activities and more personal
personal
reference?
in contacts like that. Yeah, personal reference, I think, yes.
Okay, okay. Yeah, no,
Uh,
that makes sense.
yeah.
Actually, that's a great point. We're going
Does
to
it happen
cover,
everywhere, or here in our country only, or especially in my here in Bhaktapur? Maybe in other cases, very freely, or without any such type of criteria, only through the qualities or characteristics included in the resume. People are getting jobs nowadays, but especially for the government jobs and others, some highly paid jobs, there I found that most often that personal contact and like personal favor, it works. I found that type of experience. Yeah,
okay, now
that
I
is
don't
the
know
thing I
what
am trying to explain.
I don't
Yes,
know
thank
what
you.
personal favors you're talking about. I would like to understand more about what those personal favors are, but in general, across the world, it does help to have references. We're going to cover networking as part of the interview success strategies. It is very important that you start building your network so that people know you on a personal level. And when you reach out to them asking for a job, or when asking for a reference for a job, they will take it take it forward. They will be more, because they know you on a personal level, they will be more happy to refer you to the company that is looking to hire you. uh, but to your point, Mimala, yes, um, again, it depends on what personal favors, like I said, but personal references people do expect across the world, especially if they're hiring you. They don't know you just except from your resume. That's why it's very important to put a resume together to make you stand out and almost give the interviewer or the recruiter the insight or an understanding of who you are as a person, and that's what your resume will help you achieve. Okay, so before we jump into the interview process, I just have one question. So we covered a bunch of things in resume building. Now I'm asking the same question. What are the top 3 or 5 things that are important in building a resume? Not you, Unisha, because you covered most of it already. Anybody? Any volunteers, takers?
Go ahead, Prakriti.
Yes.
I think job description is very important in our resume. Job description.
Yes. Yes.
Excuse me, ma'am. I would like to ask: is a career objective or job description just we can write in the same point?
I'm sorry. Can you repeat the question, please?
Like in our, if we are writing resume, can we put career objectives instead of job
Career
description?
objectives.
Career objectives. Um, you can put it in your professional summary as a way of talking about your objectives. You can say, I'm a highly motivated individual, and things like that. You can put it in your professional summary, but also make sure you tailor your professional summary to the job description. Try to see, how you can match the professional summary to the job description. But yes, you can put it in the professional summary.
Thank you. And skill is also important. Just we have to share our personal experience as well.
Mm-hmm.
And if possible, just we can mention internship
Yes,
certificate.
absolutely. That goes under your experience. Yes.
Yeah. And another is academic qualification is most important.
Mm-hmm.
And is possible to mention our interest or hobby in
So
professional?
I would say, again, it depends on what type of roles you're applying for. If you're applying for roles in the technology or the IT industry, uh, I won't give too much importance to hobbies. But having said that, that's just me. I look for the experience more than the hobbies, but you can always put them, towards the end of your resume. Again, make sure that your resume is in one page, right? If it's going into the second page by putting your hobbies and interests, I would say don't put it. Make sure you make only a one-page resume in the technology industry. Again, some of these things can change based on what industry you're in, and we can talk about it. Maybe on a personal level, you can send me an email and I'll respond. But some of these things will also change. Let's say you're in the teaching profession, then they might want to know your hobbies and interests as well, because it'll help them understand how you can handle the kids, or how you are going to add more value to the kids teaching experience, right? But yeah, I would say if it's technology or the IT industry, and if it's going into the second page, don't put it. If it's still in the first page, then you can put it in the end.
Yes, I think I have to manage a lot of things.
I
Thank
have
you for the
one
work.
question.
Yes, please.
Suppose I have written CV about information technology in
Mm-hmm.
IT field,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
but my experience is in
Mm-hmm.
accountant
Mm-hmm.
in one institute.
Mm-hmm.
then I should add that experience or not?
It's a great question. I I did my engineering BTech in IT, and I started my first job was in media. It's a production house. And then the next experience was in IT. But that first job, right? That first job I was applying for, I didn't have anything else to show, right? I didn't have any experience in IT except for my media experience. So what I did was I took my media experience and I tailored my media experience as IT experience as well, apart from just doing my day-to-day job, right? Even though, so you need to be smart about these things, right? You may have accounting experience, but you probably use softwares to do your accounting, right? You used Excels, Google, Sheets. So you need to focus your experience more around how you used technology, how you used tools, softwares, and not focusing on the operational aspects of your accounting role. That's how you're going to spin or give an IT spin on your accounting experience and make it more relevant to your IT job application.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Prakriti, do you still have a question? I see you unmuting and muting.
Yeah, actually, I have last question. I have kept a reference in last at last, and I have mentioned here internship of 3 months in one of the IT company as a quality analyst,
Mm-hmm.
and as a reference, sometime I work as a volunteer in a non-profit organization. So one reference I kept there, and
Mm-hmm.
next from the company where I just did my internship. So is that okay for it?
Yeah, absolutely. That's fine. Yeah.
And
You
the
just
same
let
like
you
for
just let you have to let those people know that you're adding them as a reference in your resume. And whenever you apply for a role or a company, you also reach out to them and say, hey, like I applied for this job. And again, you don't have to do it for every company. When the company responds back to you and sets up an interview with you, that's when you can go to the person and say, hey, this company may reach out to you asking for a reference. You always have to keep them up to date. Otherwise, they'll just not know who's calling, right? So at least this way, it will be at the top of their head.
have to like keep in touch with that company.
Yes. Yeah. No, keep in touch with people who are referring you, right? You're adding them as a reference in your resume. Make sure you keep them up to date on what companies are going to reach out to them. Again, let's
Okay.
say you apply for 100 companies. You don't have to tell them 100 companies' names. So what you should do is let's say you apply for my company and we reach out to you and say, hey, Prakriti, let's set up an interview. And generally, companies use the reference only towards the end of the interview process, right? So if you cleared the first round, second round, or the final round, that's when the company will start reaching out to your reference or referee, right? That's when you clear your final round, then you go to that person and say, hey, Mike, I interviewed with this company and they may reach out to you for a reference. That's when, otherwise, if you applied for 100 companies, you have to let them know about all the 100 companies, and don't do that. Okay.
And is this resume working for amateur type of job when like I'm applying, just I want to apply for like software developer, and like if I'm doing just
Yeah.
writing
So,
resume
right.
or
So
not.
if you're applying for a quality analyst role, you need to
Mm.
customize your resume for quality analyst role. So your experience should talk about the quality analysis you did in your previous jobs, previous roles. Now, if you're applying for software development, again, if you don't have any prior experience, then my personal recommendation is go and do some projects on your own and put those projects in your resume. Let's say you go and build a website or build a little tool or software, and you put that as an experience and say personal projects, right? And then add that to your resume.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so
Anybody else? All right. Let's get to the interview process. Um, this is this aligns a lot with how you put your resume together as well. So whenever you're preparing for an interview, you expect some standard questions like, tell me about yourself. Um, Tell us a little bit about your professional experience. Um, and also, you need to understand, what the company does, what is it that they're looking for, if the culture of the company is something you want to work with. Just to give you an example, you might want to work with, again, I always wanted to work with companies that are small companies with maybe a 10, 15 member team. I never wanted to work for big companies. So some of these things you have to research, understand, what the company does, if it's something that you're interested in, what is their value system, if you believe in some core values, or if you um, subscribe to certain beliefs, you need to make sure your company aligns with some of those things. Otherwise, you might still crack the job, but you may end up not enjoying the work culture there. So make sure it's a good fit for who you are, and make sure you understand the company itself, the domain, the space, the skills they're looking for, and all of that. Understanding the job description, we already covered it. Now, how do you prepare for interviews, right? What I do is I go and I Google what are the top 10 interview questions. I take those questions. And again, you need to be more specific, right? If you're applying for a project management role, you try to understand what are the top 10 common project management interview questions. I take them and then I go prepare my answers for those questions. Now, what I do for preparation is I write them, and then I also stand in front of the mirror and I practice, practice, practice. I keep repeating. And as you repeat, initially what I did was I also recorded my preparation so that I would watch it to understand, if there are any changes that I need to make, because some of us have a habit of using a lot of pauses in between sentences, or see, again, too much pause or too little pause may also, not work in your favor, right? So you'll understand a lot of these things as you go through your own interview preparation, and you can keep fine tuning it. And once you go through this exercise once, you will you won't have to do it again and again, because you're already prepared as you go through interviews. It's you do it once and it stays. Maybe 5, 10 years down the road you might want to prepare again because your experience may have evolved, but that's how I would prepare for my interviews. The second thing I do is I just ask a friend, hey, be my interviewer, be my recruiter, and just ask me questions about, and I give them the job description and they ask me questions. And again, sometimes you can ask a peer to do it, but if they don't understand the answers you're giving, they may not be able to correct you. But you can start with a peer, and once that's done, you can maybe ask some, if you have a mentor, ask your mentor to interview you, do a mock interview, and that will just help you build your confidence as well, because confidence is a very crucial thing in cracking interviews. More than your experience, I would say how effectively you're communicating, how confidently you're communicating your experience will be at least do a 50% of the job in cracking that interview. So make sure you prepare well, you don't stutter too much in the interview process, have your answers ready. We'll go through some of the tips as to how to prepare for these interviews. What are some common questions asked and all of that. Okay, and like I said, one, make sure your sentences, your experience, or your communication about your experience is more coherent, clear, and short, or concise, crisp, right? Um, Talk about your relevant experience, unless again you can give them highlights in the introduction, because every interview starts with tell me about yourself. Make sure you have a very strong introduction about yourself, which covers your experience, your years of experience, your skills, and maybe what you're passionate about that particular role, right? And the second thing is your body language. Make eye contact. Make sure you're sitting. If it's an in-person interview, or a video interview, make sure you sit firm in a confident posture, and make eye contact. And if it's an in-person interview, make sure you give a firm handshake. Don't squeeze too hard. Don't let it be too soft. Just a good firm handshake. Some of these things will make a good first impression as well. And if you don't understand some of the interview questions, you can ask questions back to get more details about what they're asking. It's okay to just ask a little more, to understand what exact. See, again, interview process is all about understanding what they are looking for and tailoring your responses to that expectation, right? So you need to we call it read the room, right? You need to understand your audience and make sure what they're, if you guys are on LinkedIn, go and look up your interviewer and see what their experience is, so that you can also prepare in advance and make sure you tailor your responses to their expectation. Okay. I'll take a pause there and see if you have any questions.
I do have one.
Yes, please.
When I faced interview, like they were much more comfortable having me there, and the interviewer told me that we have very friendly environment here, and we can just do casual talks. He said like that, and when the interviewer
You're on mute. Yeah.
when the interviewer told me some things, then I also feel relaxed. But the apart from this, he is interviewer and I am the interviewee there. And in that cases, what I must have done, like maintaining the casual or the formal, because I'm there for a job and he is giving me if I'm the right one. But in the communication, when the communication is start, there is different like for the casual one and for the formal one. So how to like manage in such situation?
Right. Yeah, great question. I would say you're there for an interview. So maintain a professional stance. Make sure you're professional in your answers, even though they're being casual or friendly because they want to ease your nerves. Make sure they don't put too much pressure on you, which is great. Take advantage of that and still maintain a professional stance. Yeah, of course, once you join the company, you can enjoy all the perks of friendly environment, but not during the interview process. Although I will say one thing. Recently, I interviewed someone from my company. She finished, so we were all done with the interview, and she understood that I was not happy. Okay, she understood. This is what I'm talking about. Read the room, understand your audience, right? She understood I was not happy. And then she told me that, hey, I feel like I have not um, done justice or met your expectations in my answers. Just give me one more chance. I want to rephrase some of the things. And she specifically asked me, is there anything else that you're looking for in my answers? And I said, yes, I was looking for more technology specific examples from your experience, because her answers were very generic. And I said, I want more specific examples about your experience. Don't just say, I built a software. Say, hey, I built a logistics or a warehouse management system, which was helping, the receiving, sorting, shipping units in a warehouse, right? So I wanted very specific example. So then she said, just give me one more chance. I want to rephrase some of my answers. She took 1 minute, and she again gave me answers that were more technology specific with examples, and I was very happy. So interviewers actually enjoy or like people who are proactive and who have the willingness to change and correct themselves. So don't hesitate. If you feel like you have not done justice to that interview, try to understand what else you can add, to those answers. As the interviewer specifically, is there anything else you're looking for? I can add more context, and then you can rephrase some of your answers. Okay. Okay. All right. So some examples of interview questions. Tell me about yourself. This is the most standard question. Then the second question is, what are some of the challenges you faced or encountered in your day-to-day job? Then how do you resolve conflict in when you're working with a team, right? These are some standard questions. Now, how do you answer them, right? So you always think of this method called STAR. STAR method is a very popular um, um, strategy to use to answer your interview questions. Now, this has 4 parts. One is situation. which means whenever you start answering a question, think of the context of your answer, right? If I ask you, what is the most complex thing you worked on in your job, right? You start thinking about the context of your answer, which is, hey, so I worked on a project 5 years back where I was trying to solve, basically, that is the context. The context itself is I worked on a project in so and so role, and that is your S. S stands for situation. Now, T stands for task. Now, in that context, what was your task? Your task was in that project. I was asked to take APIs. APIs are basically yeah, I don't know how many of you know APIs, but let me take a simpler example. The task was to go and build a website, right? So you start saying, hey, in that project, I was expected to go build a project. Now, that is T, is task. Now, A is action. Now, what is the action you took to build that website, right? What are some of the things you did to build the website, right? You went and you got the requirements, you understood the requirements, you started building that website, you tested that website, right? Now, now comes the last part, which is what everybody likes to see, which is the result, right? Now, after doing, you talked about your context, task, and action. Now, what was the outcome of that action, right? You built a website, you deployed it to for use, and there are let's say 10 people using that website or whatever that metrics is. Start talking about it. Now, this example is very specific to a like what is the complex thing you worked on. Now there can be like 100 other questions, but if you start preparing your answers in this way, when you go into your interviews, it becomes almost second nature for you. Okay. Then the second thing, again, we covered a bunch of these things. The second thing is, again, you have to showcase your skills. When you say you're a project manager, you're a quality analyst, or a software developer, you need to exhibit some of those skills in your answers by giving very specific examples. What interviewers hate is if you keep your answers generic. So start referring to your previous work experience, previous roles, previous jobs, and take examples from them. I'm someone when I'm not the interviewer, I'm giving some interviews. I take a lot of examples. I keep saying, hey, like in my previous job, I worked on this thing, or 5 years back, I worked on this thing. So start giving very specific examples in your answers. Okay. So that
See,
is,
it is 9 a.m. We usually do our workshop in 1 hour. So can you start wrapping up?
yes,
Thank
we're there. Yeah.
Thank you.
So the last step is your follow-ups. Once you're done with your interview, you go back home, you send a thank you note to your interviewers, your recruiters. This just reminds them of you. That's just a way of staying on the top of their mind for them to make a decision about you. There are several templates you can use for your thank you notes. If you Google thank you notes to my interviewer or recruiter, you will see many, many examples or samples. The second thing is, if you don't hear back from them, for a couple of days, give them a week. I would normally give them a week. After the week, if you still don't hear back from them, it can be a yes or a no. Send a follow-up email if you have a phone number. And again, if it's normal to just pick up your phone and call, just call them, or I would strictly keep it professional and send emails, or LinkedIn is also fine. The third step is, if you haven't cracked the interview, make sure you reflect again, whether you crack it or not. I would say make this as a standard process. Once you are done with your interview, you go back home, you sit and understand what you did well, what you did not do well, and what you could improve for the next, some of the things you could do to improve for your next interview. With that, we'll close. There are some other things which we can, again, on a personal note, I'll help help you guys understand some of these confidence building exercises. But that wraps your resume building and interview process. I'll stop there and see if you have any questions.
I have questions. Uh, for the resume, interviewer give very few seconds to for the first impression. Is it I have the resume, but it don't fit in one page only. So for to fit there, I reduce my font size, and but I think I did it became too much congested. So would it?
Yeah. Oh, we lost her.
Oh, she got
Or
disconnected. Well, she come back. She
okay.
comes back.
Okay.
Anybody else have a question for Sigi? Yes, no, maybe. You can always start working on your resume. And if it is half done, you only do some parts of it, you can email it to me and I forward it to Sigi and she can write comments for you in a different color and then I email it back to you. So
Yeah.
start working on your resume, build it, build it. It takes a long time. I always work on my resume because it's kind of you learn new skills, you change, you grow, right? You have new connections and all that, new chapters, clubs that you're joining. So please do so.
I have one thing to add.
Yeah.
To be honest, these days you don't have to spend a lot of time building your resume. There are a lot of softwares out there that will help you pick a template. There are like hundreds of templates. You can choose your resume template. You go start putting in information and it will build out the resume for you. So there are a lot of these tools that you can leverage. You're using Google Docs, or if you have Google, go and look up resume templates or softwares to build resumes, and make use of them, just to you don't have to start from the scratch, right?
Exactly. All right, so that's something we can have the part 2 after I come back from Nepal. We can invite CE again.
Yeah.
We can have a part 2. But for us to have a part 2, I want everybody to start working on their resume so you have more questions when she
Yeah.
comes back. Okay?
Yeah. I'll show you some cool tools and softwares. Even this presentation, I used a software to build this entire presentation. I didn't sit and start writing. So again, I'll show you some cool tricks and trades. And even for software development, Prakriti, it looks like you're putting a resume together for a software developer. I'll show you some things that I think might
Okay.
be of
I
good
thought you
use
want
for
to
you.
show them right now. So you show them later.
Yeah, I'll.
Yeah. Okay.
I will just keep going in and so we'll do a separate session for it.
Perfect.
Yeah.
So I'm going to share this video with everybody. I'm going to share the slides with everybody so you can study, read, work on it. And then we can, when I come back from Nepal, we invite Sigi again for part 2. Is that good? All right.
Yes, okay.
Sounds good. Sounds good. All right.
Unisha,
So
I see you're back, or did we lose you again? Okay, yeah, there.
is she back?
Yes, she is.
Yeah, I'll email you my
Do
Sure.
queries.
you want to ask your question now or?
No, I'll send my questions to you and you can email her.
Sounds
Sure,
good.
yeah, sounds good.
Perfect. Okay, so let me stop the recording here.